I was initially a little bit disappointed that I'll be one of the last, because usually after the lunch break the attention span is lower. But it has certain benefits, definitely, and the benefit that I listened to the other presentations and thoughts shared and exposés puts things in perspective for me as well. Because you come to these events with a certain conceptions in your head, and probably you don't think you'll be surprised. And it was the case with me. I came and I thought, for example, that things are pretty bad in Bulgaria in terms of consumer protection. But I was encouraged to learn that in Romania, which is a market 2 to 3 times bigger by population and by premiums and by revenues, whichever way you slice it, the Financial Supervision Authority handled 13,000 complaints last year, while we handled 1,300, so 10 times less. And my initial thought was to go back to my colleagues in Bulgaria and say, you know what, we're in pretty good shape. But of course we are not. Of course we are not. We have to think about all the people that do not know they can complain, do not know how to complain, or above all, probably know that if they complain, not much will happen. And unfortunately, the third point is probably the most valid one. We as the Financial Supervision Commission, by law, have the right and the mandate to handle all complaints coming from the insurance, investment, and the private pension market. But as Malgorzata mentioned earlier on, we also cannot issue binding binding decisions to the supervised entities. We can sanction them if there were violations of the laws and the bylaws and the procedures, but we cannot solve the consumer issue, and more often than not, we suggest to them to take their dispute to court, which we all know how costly and lengthy and time-consuming this might be. The absence of instrumentarium, the deficits are, I have to say, fortunately, being realized now by decision makers, by policy makers, by politicians, and there is work going on high levels. There is this interinstitutional steering committee in Bulgaria now, comprising ourselves and the Bulgarian National Bank and the Ministry of Finance, you name it, the Deposit Insurance Fund, that is working with an idea to propose and mandate legislative changes to empower more maybe the regulator and of course with a view to protect consumers more. But this is also, of course, not a fast-moving process, as you might imagine, given the many moving parts and policymakers that it involves, which all of them have other priorities from time to time as well. I think one direction of consumer protection that we didn't mention so far, and we are thinking increasingly more about, is financial education. It is in the topic of who is responsible and how should consumers also be made more responsible, and teaching them and making them aware and raising the awareness of consumers is certainly one of the two, I think, main approaches that could be taken towards consumer protection that should work hand in hand, the other being better regulation and supervision. But education is something that we have taken also more seriously lately. There is another working group comprising roughly the same roughly the same authorities, but we also have there the Ministry of Education and academia involved in these discussions, because they should be eventually, when a strategy is outlined, to implement the suggested steps and changes from the bottom up in the educational process. Again, as I said, luckily there is understanding that this is something very important and needs to happen in the current government, in the current parliament of Bulgaria. Time-wise, let's hope, but I think the important thing is that there is a political will. We, on our end, the Financial Supervision Commission, have done maybe a modest effort, but we launched a website. It's called myfinances.bg or something like this in Bulgarian, that tries to explain in an approachable, comprehensible way the most important things consumers need to do with various financial products, markets, insurance, pensions, the frequently asked questions, what are your rights, please read the fine print, and so on and so forth. It also contains links to our own portal of the Commission where complaints can be filed. It has seen attention. I have to say, so far modest. It's been only half a year that it has been in existence. But we are thinking how, with the supervised entities, with our insurance companies and market participants, and within the lines of these initiatives that I mentioned, to make it more widely distributed, to raise the awareness of this website, to make, to fill it up with even more information and make it more effective and results producing. So we are working on this. Maybe one final point. Again, we talked about new products and new channels. Unit-linked, we haven't had major issues, but we do have a major issue with the fast credit products that were also mentioned earlier in the previous session. There have been cases where consumers sign up to something, and then there are so many hidden taxes and charges that they have to pay tens and hundreds of effective interest rate on a small amount, but it can be disastrous with a small income household. Strangely enough, these entities that provide these so-called fast consumer credit, they are not regulated yet in Bulgaria, and actually they are not regulated universally in many markets. In some markets they are, in others they aren't. But it has become a growing problem, and now we are taking steps, legislative initiatives and changes to bring more control, more transparency, above all, financial sanctions for misconduct, but to rein in a little bit the greed that was also mentioned earlier on. It is important, I think it has become, this fast credit have become a prominent case in the public conscience, in the media, among consumers. And I think if we do make the changes that we plan within the next couple of months, hopefully, it will have a significant positive impact on the consumer perceptions, and will increase trust in the system overall. And probably to recap, that's how we see things. First, two-pronged approach, as I said, towards consumer protection in the financial sector. First of all, better financial education, better financial literacy, which clearly is a difficult and slow process, but in the long run should produce probably the results that we want to see indeed. Better penetration of financial products, more savings, more investment in the economy, but it cannot go without trust, and the trust can only come when the consumers know what they're exposed to and make an informed decision. And secondly, better supervision, stringent measures for violations, scrutiny of capital adequacy or other indicators as they might be, to make the market more transparent and more efficient. Thank you.